Hello and welcome today to the Microsoft Excel Formulas 2 training session. In this session, we'll look at subtotal command, a variety of functions, and how to use 3D formulas in your spreadsheets. So did you know that you can automatically calculate subtotals and grand totals for your Excel lists? Just use the subtotal command. Here we have a list of hundreds of sales transactions, and we'd like to see how each of the different regions are doing and how we're doing overall. Perfect example for our subtotal command. Before you apply this command, you'll just need to sort the list by the column you want to group by. In this example, it's region, so I'll click on any single cell in the region column, and using the sort and filter drop-down, I can choose sort A to Z. That will put all of the rows, all of the transactions in order according to their region. Now we can go ahead and jump into the subtotal command. This command is found on the Data tab, so I'm switching over to the Data tab. It's over on the right side of the ribbon in a group called Outline. And as I click it, it'll open a dialog box that just needs a little bit of information. It needs to know what we're trying to group by, and that would be the same field you just sorted by. If you use the drop-down, you will see all of the column headers from your list, and you just pick the appropriate one. So for us, again, you can see all of the fields here, but we are using region. Next, you choose the function. So in addition to totals, you can also do overall, averages, counts, max, and mins. Let's stick with sum in this example. And the next thing you'll do is go through the checkboxes here to indicate where you want to add the sum function, what fields, what columns you want to add that sum function to. So why don't we add it to units, price, total, and it for some reason put a check in the date field. I'm going to go ahead and remove that checkbox. And that's all that we need to do at this point. So I'm going to click on OK. And it applied the subtotals. And the way that I will use them going forward is over here in this brand new gutter area. I have the ability to use the buttons in the top left. For example, as I click the number 1, it will, just need to resize these, right? It will go ahead and show me the grand total. So the grand total for units, price, and overall total there. Then if I click on the number 2 button, it will show me the individual regions. So remember, I didn't have to write a single function. It did all of this for me, which is super fast, super convenient. Just remember, of course, to sort first, or else this will come out kind of on the messy side. If you want to see an individual region, just use the plus sign next to that region to go ahead and see the individual transactions that lead up to that. Once you click and see an expanded section, you can go ahead and click the minus sign to collapse that back up. So the number 3 button will show all of the detail. And once again, number 1 for the grand total, number 2 for each region total in this case, and then number 3 for the detail. If you care to remove your subtotals, you can do that at any time. Just click somewhere inside of the subtotal area. And again, on the Data tab, in the Outline group of the ribbon, you're going to click on Subtotal and choose the Remove All option in the bottom left. And then you'll be back to where you started. That's it for your subtotals. Definitely a great tool to help you analyze your information. And now on to some functions. First up, we'll look at a few functions that help us to change the case of the text in our spreadsheet. Because unlike Word and PowerPoint, there are no options to do this through formatting. So we're going to click on the Case tab along the bottom. And first up, we'll be looking at a function called upper. And as the name suggests, the upper function converts text to uppercase. So we are going to go ahead and perform that right here in column B. So the states are all listed, unfortunately, in a variety of different cases. We want to get them uniform, make sure that they are all uppercase. So I'm going to simply write this function equal upper, open paren, click the cell that has the text in it, and good form to close that paren at the end. Pressing the Enter key to finish that off, and I've got my first state converted to uppercase, and then we're just going to drag the fill handle to apply that same formula to the rest of the states. So there we go. The next formula or function that we're going to take a look at is the proper function. So let's take a look at what proper is all about. Proper is a function that is applied to text, and what it will do is change the case of the text to proper case. Proper case, of course, is capitalizing the first letter of each word. So we're going to come in here to cell D7 and we'll apply proper to our various cities. It looks like this: equal proper, open parenthesis, and then click the cell that has the text, in this case C7. It's good form to close that paren at the end, press the Enter key, and now our cities have been, our first city that is, has been entered properly at this point, and I can drag that fill handle to the rest of the cities, and as you can see, it adjusts them all the same. So the first letter of each word in the city name is now capital, and that's what proper does. One more to look at in this arena, and that is going to be the lower function. So let's take a look at what the lower function is all going to do for us. The lower function also works on text, and it converts text, as the name suggests, to lowercase. So let's come over here and enter in a formula, a function here that will allow us to convert the text that's written there to lowercase. It looks like this: equal lower, open parentheses, click the cell that has the text in it, and then close the paren at the end. Now there are numbers in some of these. It's not going to do anything to the numbers. So the numbers will remain as they are, since there's no upper, lower, or proper case for your numbers. I can go ahead and drag that down to the rest of the cells in that area, and we are all set then with our string functions. That's just going to bring these all back up. Functions like your uppercase, your proper case, and your lowercase, since you don't have those formatting attributes like you do in your PowerPoint and Word programs. Moving on now to the next tab, where we'll be taking a look at a couple of different functions that help you extract information from a particular cell. So the first one that we'll be looking at is the write function. The write function extracts the last character or characters in a text string based on however many characters you specify. It needs two arguments. It needs the cell that has the text, and then it needs however many characters you are looking to extract. Pretty simple. So let's go ahead and take a look at a quick example here. It's going to be equal write, open parenthesis, click the cell that has the text in it, followed by a comma, and then however many characters you are looking to extract. The zip is 5 characters, so go ahead and type in a 5, and closing that paren at the end for good form. So as you can see, it extracted the last 5 characters from the right side of that string, and I can go ahead and copy that down. There we go. The next function that we want to take a look at is the left function. So what the left function does similarly is extract characters from within a string cell, but it starts at the beginning and or from the left side, and it will extract however many characters you specify. So we're going to be using the left function to extract the first 7 characters, which is the transaction type. And pretty simple. It's just going to be equal left, open parenthesis, click on the cell with the text inside of it to write that into the formula, followed by a comma, and however many characters you are looking to extract. The transaction type is going to be 7 characters, and I'm going to type that in, close the paren at the end, and you can see that that's exactly what it did, and I can copy that down to the other cells as well with that fill handle. The next function we'll be looking at on this page is going to be the mid function. So what the mid function does is it will extract a certain number of characters, and you will basically have to tell it a couple of different things. Number one, where the text is, as we saw in the other examples, where to start, and the number of characters. So let's look at an example here. What I'm looking to do is use the mid function to extract the middle characters of this part number, which stand for the location in this case. So we'll be using that, equal mid, open parenthesis, and where is the text? The text is sitting in cell E7, so I'll go ahead and click on that, followed by a comma. Now, where do I want to start this extraction? So since it's mid, you can tell it where to start, unlike the left and unlike the right. So a little bit more control, but you do have to add that piece of information in here. So the start number in this case is I want it to start in the 4th position, right? So the first 2 don't help me, then there's a dash, and then comes the location. So if I type in a 4 there, it says starting with the 4th character in this string. Now, another comma, and I have to tell it how many characters I want. So in each case, the location is 3 characters. I can go ahead and type that in, close the paren at the end, and this should extract the location for me. So NYC, in that case, I'll go ahead and drag that fill handle down, and we'll be able to do that all the way across. So again, just a couple of quick functions there that help you extract information. Just bring back this list so you can see them all. So we looked at the right function, the left function, as well as the mid. Now on to the next function, which is the search function. So as the name implies, you'll use the search function to find something within a cell. So in this case, we'll be using the search function on its own to locate the position of a particular character. In this case, it's the comma that I'm looking for, and in and of itself or on its own, it doesn't seem all that special or all that helpful, but we'll see in a moment how we can combine it with other functions, the left function, the right function, etc., so that we can get a little more meaningful and a little more power out of it. So let's go ahead and use this to be able to indicate where the comma is found in a particular location string here. So it's going to be equal, clicking in cell B6, equal, search, open parenthesis, and the first thing it needs is the text that you're looking for. And when you are feeding it that kind of information, text values, for example, into most of your functions, you do need to put them in quotations. So I'm going to go ahead and type in my quotation, the character or symbol in this case that I'm looking for, and then close the quotation, followed by a comma, and then just indicate where we're looking for that. So that's going to be over here in A6. That's all I need. I'm closing the parenthesis at the end, pressing the enter key, and what it's telling us at this point is that it found the comma in the 7th position there. And I'll copy that down. That comma is in a different spot for all of those cities. And once again, nothing too special about knowing where the comma is unless you want to use it with another function. So let's look at combining the search function with the left. So let's take a look at what that may look like and entail. So together, the search and the left function, we just looked at search, we looked at left a little bit earlier, and we're going to be able to extract a certain number of characters based on the position of that comma. So here's what it looks like. First, we use the left function on A6, and if you remember, the left function needs to know how many characters. Well, that's where we're able to use the position of that comma to be able to tell it how many characters we are looking to extract. We're just going to -1 at the end, so it does not include that comma. And here's, so it is only going to extract the city name. So here's what it's going to look like. Equal left, open parentheses. The text is sitting in cell A6. Then I type in a comma, and as we mentioned, it's looking now for the number of characters. I can't give it a solid number. It's going to be different in every instance here. So that's where I can use that search function to be able to say, look for the comma, right? Just like we did earlier in cell A6. and then just minus the 1 because I don't want to include the comma in here. If I forget to do that minus the 1, then what you'll end up seeing is the name of the town followed by a comma. We don't want that, right? So I'm going to minus out that 1. So essentially what it's going to do is extract the left 6 most characters in this case. And then just closing the paren at the end that I opened when I was starting off with that left function. So that's it. There we go. So silly town there, but I can go ahead and copy that down to the rest as well. And you'll see that in every case, regardless of the length of the town, it was able to extract that. And like we said, the search function is helpful, but usually used in combination with additional functions as well. So there we go. Okay, moving on to the next tab. We're going to take a look at the trim function. The trim function is used to eliminate excess spaces, leading spaces in your text. So you may be wondering why this is even an issue and why we're looking at it today. Well, if there are initial excess spaces in your text and you're trying to sort them, you're going to end up with incorrect results. So let's take a look at that and then we'll lead into using that trim function. So I have a list, and as we know, I should be able to just click somewhere in the column I'm looking to sort by, and using the sort and filter on the home tab of the ribbon, I should be able to do a sort ascending or descending, etc. Well, unfortunately, what ends up happening is spaces or blanks that are leading in this case will put that towards the top of the list. So this is not sorted properly, right? The results are not what I would expect. The culprit is that there are blanks or leading spaces that I need to get and eliminate. This function will also eliminate excess spaces within the values as well, not to the extent where it will eliminate the single space. So if it's spaced properly, last name, comma, space, first name, it won't make any changes to it. Let's go ahead and use that trim function then, starting in cell B2. Very simply, it's equal trim, open paren, and just click the cell that has the text in it, close the paren at the end, and we can see that it eliminated those leading spaces. I can go ahead then and copy that down to the rest of my names. And if I wanted to sort now, I would be able to, just using that sort A to Z option. Things will be sorted properly as a result of eliminating the leading and excess spaces. And of course, we can do that with the trim function. Next, we'll take a look at a few things that are helpful to know about working with dates in Excel and a couple of date functions. First of all, if there's a number of different ways to get dates into the cells in your spreadsheet. For example, you could simply type it in 4/18/20, for example, right? There's a nice shortcut that will also give you the date. It's Control:. That will give you the date as well. And last but not least, there is a function that will give you the date. It's the today function. It looks like this: equal today, open and close the paren. Nothing inside the paren. That's the first time we're really looking at a function that doesn't require anything inside there, but that's what you'll be able to do, and it will put in a date. So the thing here is that this date, the last one that we did, will update automatically. The first two are just static dates, and they will remain as they were entered initially. But like we said, this function, the today function, will go ahead and populate or update automatically as time goes by. The next thing we want to just explore is doing maybe a little bit of math with your dates. So if you were trying to calculate, just make this a little bit smaller. If you were trying to calculate, for example, how many days until a due date, then you can do a little bit of a subtraction using that today function. And the way that it works would be similar to the simple subtraction that we looked at in Formulas 1. It's going to be equal the due date minus, and then that today function. Okay. the end result is going to look a little off initially, and that's just due to formatting. So what I'm going to do is just change the format there. It shouldn't be structured as a date. It should just be structured as general. So I'm using that quick, easy drop down, choosing general, and then it'll let me know that it's 28 days until that due date. And I can go ahead and copy that down, etc. And we can see that it is applying it and formatting it properly, so I can tell how many days until the due date from each of those days from today. So tomorrow, if I look at this list, it will be updated automatically since that today function recalculates on its own. So there's a little bit of work with your date functions as well as the subtraction. It works as well with addition, so there you go. Now it's time to give our formulas a little more depth. So we're going to be looking at 3D formulas, which are similar to the other formulas we've been creating, except they include values found in cells on other sheets within the workbook. So here I've got a summary sheet, if you will, and I would like to pull information from the other sheets. So for example, this will summarize the sales from all of the regions for the first 4 months, and the individual sales are found on a variety of different sheets here. So what I want to do is I want to add up all of the January markers for the North region, it's right here, the South region, the East region, and the West region. So with a formula like that, or with a task like that, a 3D formula is perfect, and it's pretty simple to do. We start off with the equal sign. We can go over to the North region sheet and click on the cell that I would like to add up. In this case, like we said, the January markers, and you can see what it's doing in the formula bar to build that. Then I'm just going to type in a plus sign because that's the kind of calculation I'm looking to do, but it could really be anything. Multiplication, subtraction, any of the functions, averages, maxes. Coming over to the South region now, I'm going to go ahead and click on cell B4 there, the January markers. Type in another plus sign, go over to the East sales, and click on that January markers. One more to do, so one more plus sign. Heading over to the West region, I can go ahead and click on January markers, and when the formula is complete, you'll just press the Enter key, and it will take you back to where you began writing in this formula. So we'll do one more just as an example. Let's go ahead and do the pencils. It's going to be equal, heading over to the North region, clicking on the January pencils, typing in a plus sign. So you can keep your eyes up there to see that that formula statement grow. Go over to the South region and click on the January pencils for South, then a plus sign. Head over to the East region, click on the January pencils, plus sign, and the last but not least over there on the West region, I can go ahead and give that a click. And if you want to just spot check that formula, it should be B5 on each of those sheets, as long as it's all in the same spot, and it is. Press the Enter key when we're done, and there we have it. Just one example of a 3D formula that allows you to calculate information on values found on the different sheets within your workbook. And that about does it for today. We took a look at the subtotal command. We took a look at a variety of different functions as well as 3D formulas. And that concludes our program for today. Thanks for attending and hope to see you again soon.